Hello. This is going to be a series, a rather generic series, about people on the internet, and there will be subsequent series that are more specific. As you may recall, those of you who watch my videos, the few of you, I have been planning a series called the Loser series, and that's ongoing. But I was thinking about a group of people who will be covered within the Losers series, but this is really a broader group because it incorporates the good and the bad, right? Well, you can see I have this rather snazzy webcam. I hope it comes across. Well, I bought this upon very good advice, or rather good advice, by somebody who wanted me, or suggested that I create a series of typology videos. Now, the term typology, look it up and look up the letters MBTI and socionics, which is spelled rather as it sounds. There's a thing called typology. I say a thing as it is many things. There are various schools of thought. But the most popular of these forms of typology, which I'm not going to denigrate it here, is MBTI. That is the Myers-Briggs Type Index. Then you have the more complex system that actually, honestly, exists to fill a requirement, a desire for typology, which is socionics. So we can say that MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator or type index, is essentially a test that will place an individual within 16 psyche types. And I say the word psyche types very clearly, but you will hear about personality types. Now, I'm not going to go into the particular detail about what I like or dislike about these systems. This is about the types of people that are interested in typology or typologies. I find that they can be placed into various categories. Some are larger than others. Of course, people will gravitate between various groups. So there is MBTI, but there isn't necessarily one group. So the first type of typology persons are, let's look at what their motivation is. And the motivation is for initially a kind of therapy. I'm going to use my tobacco, which may make me harder to speak. They discover this thing, over Facebook, or maybe a great number within their churches will be introduced to this thing called the type indicator, right? They're often young people, or at least young thinking people, who perhaps have bought into things such as astrology. They really want a lens or a mirror within which they can see their person, their character. They want some kind of a measure that will show them that their view of themselves is correct, is accurate. Of course, you have these 16 types. That is an interesting thing. I'm going to go into my own personal interest here. I'm more interested in the 4 temperaments, and that can help you to understand why the person becomes interested in typology. But what becomes more what preoccupies this type more? This is one of the 2 largest groups of what is we can say is a subculture, a typology subculture. Fairly benign. They will notice that let's find the others, and there will be others who have taken the test, may or may not have taken the paid, slightly more in-depth test. The MBTI has, I believe, 3 phases, and after the 3rd phase you can be rather certain that you are this or you are that. I've reason to believe that there is even a subtype system within MBTI, which is good. There should be. Well, they'll discover the community. They will ask strangers if they can see what they are, right? But then there's another category within typology communities that will be somewhat, we could say that they're somewhat protective of their thing, their fetish, that is their MBTI and or socionics type. It's largely MBTI, as that more people know about it, but of course there is crossover, and they'll feel rather that people are infringing upon their said type, and they will perhaps have an ulterior motive, and they will try and tell people why they are not this. They will believe that they will overestimate their knowledge of the typology, and they will, perhaps for other reasons, will use typology as a form of gaslighting, because other people are completely convinced in this system. Person A will be convinced of the system, and person B will use sophistry to claim that they have more knowledge of it, and will try and convince person A that they are something that they may or may not be. So then you have the type 2 of the typology. It filters into type 2. So person B fits into type 2. And they may in some cases have slightly more knowledge than the fan boy or fan girl, but they are still fans of a sense. They in a way, they really feel that they need this system more. But in another way, sometimes they feel they are helping people, or they are serving the system that they adhere to, by coming up with very, very long articles or posts within sites such as the 16 Types or Typology Cafe, neither of which I care about. At least I don't care about them when it comes to conventional typologies. You will find interesting stuff there. And they are rather like the academic who didn't really qualify as well as he or she wanted, right? And they have something to prove. They want to prove their knowledge, and they want to convince people that their opinion on the other person is accurate. Of course, within this second type of second, we say, dichotomy of typology persons. You get knowledgeable people who actually, rather knowledgeable people who actually are correct. But the amount of the way of behaving is rather cultish. So type 2 has a subcategory, and that is the MBTI person who becomes the socionics, or we say more seemingly complex typology proponents, or proponents of more complicated seeming typologies. So the subcategory of 2 is actually becomes rather more dangerous, because they will become even more convinced of their knowledge, and they will develop, or they will nurture, certain type chauvinism. So the type 2 will be further analysed in the in both the Losers series and the Wankers series. They'll be described in different ways. Within the Wankers series, it will be the various aspects of their person, because they can't necessarily be categorised as losers, but they are wankers. So type 2B will develop our subcategory, the socionics person and or enneagram person. So they will actually will disregard socionics, or there will be an MBTI person who knows a great deal about socionics but will disregard it because it is somewhat inconvenient, or they wish to show how fucking erudite they are. I'm not going to swear very much on this channel, and as you may or may not tell, this little video log has been thought out somewhat. And they will, so type 2B, which temporarily I was a part of, will look at popular, some of the popular YouTube persons are knowledgeable, some claim to be. They're knowledgeable in some areas, and they are eloquent, we can say, and they are open-minded about talking to people, and some actually work within typology professionally, in that they earn money. They may or may not be adequate at it, right? So the type 2B wanker, typology wanker, who has moved clearly within either socionics or MBTI or enneagram, or potentially even Podlair. Podlair? I'm not going to talk about what Podlair is because I don't understand it particularly. It's crazy. And they will so they will actually have I have been within type 2B, and they are people who are they can actually be saved. They can go either way. Type 2B can actually be a person who hasn't learned much about another form of typology, but will learn an awful lot about one, and will be somewhat in denial about the fact they are interested in the others, but that they will be rather moderately to very well schooled within a form of typology. Now, type 2B will invariably, in most cases, allow the system to confuse them. They will actually believe they are more knowledgeable than they are, and they'll become at times, maybe they can justify their reasons for being a troll, but they will become trolls. Now, the reason they become trolls is it should be quite obvious to you. Most typology people wish for this mirror within their own person. They put their personality, their psyche type. They wish to know that they wish for confirmation that they have this personal knowledge. Their personal knowledge of type 2B is slightly skewed because they are completely devoted to a system. Sometimes they're devoted to two systems, but that's neither here nor there. So they will wish to, rather like a predator, find those who know slightly less and are vulnerable, and either will seek to convert them or to really chastise them and tell them why they are wrong, why they are really self-deluded. Now, they aren't always. They can be well-meaning in a way, or at least believe they're well-meaning. I had a person telling me that if I were to entertain the prospect of being an INTJ, and this was a possible INTJ, I think he is, who is actually well-meaning, who said this to me. He said that I was actually harming myself by entertaining this prospect, and you will hear that a lot. Excuse me for Skype being on. I'm going to cancel that. Now, if they were to be completely honest, type 2B, some may realise this. Typology in of itself has harmed type 2B. They're so deeply immersed in their chosen form of typology, that it has actually begun to form their personality. They have fed into their cerebral computer the typology and types in question, and they actually will become the popularly understood description of introvert, not outgoing person, a very private person, or extrovert, which I prefer to call an outgoing person. They will very clearly describe be an expression of what is written within the typology literature that they follow, that they are typology believers. They are believers, right? That's a very dangerous thing. But they can be saved. Now you have type 3. They have not been, in many cases, type 1. They may have some small attributes of type 1. They are knowledgeable. They have nothing to prove, and they are attempting to use typology as actually not as necessarily as a form of self-help. They really wish to help others. They actually resemble the more helpful people within the tech community. I think, yeah, it's all cool. If you like Samsung, you like Samsung. If you like Nokia, you like Nokia. If you use Linux, that's cool. If you use Windows, that's cool. If you use Unity, that's cool. If you use Tux, that's cool. If you use KDE, that's cool. If you use what is it? If you use XFTE, if you use X Ubuntu, that's cool. If you use Ubuntu, that's cool. They're rather omnivorous, and the professional, well-celebrated typology people will be within this. You may find people who are not completely convinced of their knowledge who fit within Type 3, but Type 3 will be involved in typology group chats with prominent people, and it comes across lucidly who they are to me, and they are a smaller group. This isn't to say that they will not be drawn into the dark, onto the dark side, which is 2B. 2B, the most horrible dichotomy of typology people, contains most of the Western socionics community. Type 3 has, within Type 3, you'll find people like David Kersey Jr. and such, and people who have written books on socionics or enneagram or anything. I don't know about Podler. I'm not going to talk about that. I actually will do a whole series on Podler. Does it work, or does it seem to work? Right. So knowledge is key. Community is something that will confuse you. The person who becomes the typology buff or nerd, but doesn't need it, doesn't need it to actualize themselves, will be Type 3. Not wankers usually, though Type 3, when they become professional, perhaps they've always been professionals, in as much as they have become public. There are certain traits about them. They really are not invested in convincing people which of the types, and there are more than 16 of them. I'm sorry to tell you, there are subtypes, and I'll go into that later on. That is really tricky. And they have they wish to promote their typology and put it in the best light, and they give people the benefit of the doubt that actually, even though their impressions, maybe their third or fourth impression, may indicate that the person isn't entirely right, they wish to somewhat scientifically find the solution. In fact, they may wish to reevaluate their view of the 16, though of course more, types. So I will say that is my clarification of the 3 types of typology folk. You really want to be Type 3, but in order to be Type 3 you need to find others who are within Type 3, and that's tricky because Type 2B can appear like 3. So I've created a typology, a subtype of typology persons. I'm very proud of that. Now, this is what the video was going to be about, but because I'm not very eloquent, and I don't like apologising, I was within Type 2B. Now there is a person on the internet. His internet channel includes the word geeks, and it has had a typology YouTube channel for a long time. Now, This person appears to be at one point of time questionable for certain reasons. He has since redeemed himself completely in my eyes. In fact, in the eyes of many people, he isn't a competent typology person in the sense that I would, in the sense that I understand it. But in other ways, he is, in that he is very clearly listening to what other people have to say, and he can find people's types 80 to 75% of the time, which is okay. He is by definition a professional in that he earns money using the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Now this person, shall I go into his education? That was put in question at one point. Now I have actually attacked this person. Was it due to envy? I think that I was type 2B, and I was really in a team. I was playing for socionics, and this person was very, very clearly sidelining people who were posting stuff to do with socionics. He's really one of the better persons within class 2B, in that he really is attacking the non-believers in MBTI. But this is a good person. This is a really good guy. You can't fake it for me. And I don't think he deserved the trolling that myself, and actually people who are actually very mature and weren't 2Bers, who were type 3, were trolling this person, because he did conduct himself in ways that we didn't think were entirely correct. That was flirting with people who were on his channel. That is a bit creepy. And what really annoyed me is he accused me of being creepy, and I was banned from his Facebook channel and blah blah blah. As if you can actually properly ban somebody from a Facebook group. You just can't. He knows that. It's very easy for one to get back in the group. So I really feel sorry about this. I really am. If by some random chance, Mr. Dr. B, I think your surname starts with B. It's an Italian surname. If you happen to stumble upon this channel, you didn't deserve that trolling. NFG, not going to say the channel name, is very entertaining, and I understand. I'm not going to. I've got nothing to prove. That's all. But I will go into more detail, and I will refer to the 3 typology typology proponent dichotomies at a later date. Type 2B is going to provide a lot of substance for wankerism, as will type A, type 1. Thank you for viewing.